Hello everyone and welcome back to the Aman Talks NRL SuperCoach live streams. We're back for 2025. Feels very good to say that. Looking at round 3, trade targets and preview. Great to see so many of you already in the chat as well. It has been a while. I'm going to be a little bit rusty, so forgive me if I, forget my words or forget how to do streaming and whatnot, but no, it's good to be back. I've been watching other content on the sidelines and I'm like, I can't wait to get back out there. I'm back out there. Interchange role to start off with, but hopefully I'm back as a starter soon enough. Thank you to everyone who's already in the chat, and thank you massively to everyone who wished, gave me lovely messages over the last few weeks about the wedding and the marriage, and a lot of you gave me very good tips about how to have a successful marriage as well, which is, very, very appreciated. So there you go. There's proof. If you can see the wedding ring, it happened. I'm hitched. But here to talk about SuperCoach, not my personal life, which is way less interesting. Derek says, welcome back, mate. Congratulations on your marriage. Thank you again so much. Appreciate it. Let's go, Aman. Poem. Apologies, I don't have a poem prepared. Hype. Aman's hair is inbound. That's right. This is what you were all waiting for, isn't it? Got a cut recently, just to, not for the wedding, not to look good for that, just to make sure that I was ready for you all once I came back. But yes, hair is looking good. Looking forward to my pearls of wisdom, says Paul. Thank you very much. Missed you streaming, Aman. Congrats on the wedding, says Tom. Thank you very much. The GOAT Aman has returned, says Kurto. Oh my God, Aman, just seeing you has already made my 2025, and it's only March. You all are way too kind. Too kind. Don't forget to like the stream, says Nick. Yes, absolutely. Do like the stream if you enjoy it. Miss you, mate, says Lawrence. GOAT returns. Congrats on the marriage, says Finn. Thank you very much. I massively appreciate it. Aussie Sports Geek, you're 13th in the league. That is very good. A lot of people have been also messaging me, is there a league for this year? There is. The code is just below me, 251620. So do get joining. I think it closes round 11 or round 12. But yeah, we're going to talk about, I'm glad that I'm back for this week, because this is obviously a huge week, round 3. This is the first week before prices change. So lots of options have emerged. So many cheapies, like which ones do you actually prioritize? Other cheapies getting dropped, like Tom Duffy. Payne Haas has just been, honestly, you think that he gets to a level and you think you can't better it, but he just is looking absolutely ridiculous. So Payne Haas is someone to consider, underperforming guns if people are looking to sell them. Plenty of things to discuss, and so we'll get through all of that. Couple of plugs as well. Do follow me on Instagram and Twitter as well. Links for those will be in the description of the stream. Also have started my Patreon, just where I'm going to keep final decisions on the team. I found it very hard to constantly kind of update that. With Patreon, I'm able to provide the final updates on mainly things like reserves and stuff, not necessarily so much trades. I am still planning on, at the end of streams, how I used to do, just go through my team and what I'm thinking with final trades. But when it comes to those final decisions, last minute things of, unfortunately, on the weekend, I changed last minute my VC from Ponga to Turbo. So I didn't loop Turbo. Obviously, I went and captained Cleary. But, if I kept it on Ponga, I would have probably gained way more points. But, those last minute decisions and things on reserves, that's kind of what I'm just going to keep on Patreon. Apart from that, though, you guys will probably see my team at the end of every stream as I used to do. Sound is 10 out of 10. Thank you, Adam. I appreciate that. Let me know if there's any technical issues. I obviously want to make sure that doesn't happen. New Aman, new year, new internet, same bad trade calls from myself, says Isaac. Yeah, don't worry. I'm going to be right there with you with the bad trade calls as well. But let's get straight into it. So obviously I posted a few weeks ago a final team, which, slightly changed, which I did put on Patreon. Overall, the first 2 weeks have gone pretty well for myself. So 1367, rank is 5,500, which I think is generally probably one of the highest I've ever been at this point. But look, we're talking 2 weeks in. Points are so close. Ranks don't really matter so much. It's more about just getting your team set up properly. Have you got the right cheapies? Have you got the right squad structure? Things like that. That's the main purpose of the early rounds, not necessarily, I'm ranked 10th or something. Obviously, if you're ranked 10th, congrats, you're doing amazing, but I'd rather be ranked 10th in round 26 or 27, not in round 2. So has been a good start for myself, personally. So I am generally happy with how I've set up the team, and I think pleasingly a few of the calls that I did have in preseason on some players have at the moment look like they've been justified. A couple that I can think of would, I was very keen on Tino. Even though he had the bye in round 1, if you watch that front row forward video, I was just I just have a feel that he's just going to come back and just go all out guns blazing. And he was absolutely enormous on the weekend. So starting with him has been great. Generally, most of the cheapies that I've picked have been fine, but I think most people are probably in the same boat. I did have a couple of probably stuff ups, mainly because I'd say it was so busy and things with the wedding. But, I started with, like, say, Dimitrik, is it Valmoga from the Warriors. He's not been great. Didn't start with Tamale just because of job security concerns. So, having to use trades to get the likes of him in. Didn't get Jesse Arthurs from the beginning, even though I think one of my very early teams, I think I did have Jesse Arthurs. But look, you can't get every decision right. As long as you can pivot accordingly, then you're generally going to be, shaping up pretty well for the beginning of the year. And yes, I will 100% be boosting this round. I can tell you that much. I didn't make any trades last week, so I'll definitely be boosting. Congrats to Mr. and Mrs. Amant, says Connor. Thank you. How's the wife? She's doing great. I think she's downstairs watching something on Netflix or Maths or whatever it is. Whatever. Definitely not watching. I can tell you one thing she's not watching. She's not watching this stream, that's for sure. Fang Nada says, yo, man. Yo, I'm back. Alrighty. Let's get into the stuff. So I put a poll up ages ago, and apologies again as well. I kept changing the start time of the stream, but we're here now. So I wanted to see what you guys were thinking in terms of the main questions and topics. And obviously, I think the key thing this week is on cash generation. Who are the cheapies that we need to get right, and who are the ones we need to prioritize? Because there's a fair few of them have actually cropped up this week. So we'll definitely we'll tackle that first once we get past, I guess, some of the broader TLT updates. And I'll try to reserve some time at the end as well for your specific questions, but hopefully we cover most of those throughout the stream. Will you adopt my useless son, Aman? Mate, I literally just got married a week ago. I don't think I'm in a position to be adopting anyone's kids. So yeah, apologies. I'm going to have to politely decline your offer. Apologies, mate. But yeah, so TLT talking points. Honestly, apart from my spelling mistakes, there's not a huge heap, I think, actually. I mean, there's a few things that happen in TLT, but I think they're all things that you're probably all aware of now, and you would have seen a bit of news drip feeding as well throughout the day. So the big one is, from a Supercoach point of view, is probably Tom Duffy. So he's been dropped, which is unfortunate, I guess, for a lot of us who own him. I haven't seen what his ownership is, but I'm sure it's pretty high. So he's been dropped for Jake Clifford, and so, probably is going to be someone that you're going to look to move on. Fortunately, if you've got the likes of a Sandon Smith, or, there's Jamie Humphreys, you may have a potential exit routes from Tom Duffy. Jack Kozeski, there was a bit of rumor coming around today that, he was training in like the bibs with the opposing team, not the starting team. He has been named to start, but Brendan Piakura is on the bench, as he was for the last couple of weeks. So I think Jack Kozeski, I don't own him currently. I held off for the week. I believe he's got like a -10 break even. But one thing I will quickly start off with when we do talk about things like, if anyone watching is new to Supercoach or maybe isn't that experienced, we'll quickly discuss as well, very quickly, the way that price changes work, and therefore break evens and the role that they play. Because we're going to talk a lot about break evens and things. So break even is basically just the score that a player needs to get to break even and not go up or down in price. And the way that break evens are based on is a 3-round rolling average. So I've got this graphic up on the screen, which hopefully you all can see. What it basically means is that your round 1 score is the first score that drops out of the 3-round rolling average. So if a player like, say, Jack Kozeski is a good example, he had a good score round 1 of 66, but then he scored 18 in round 2. So once that 66 drops out, which it will from next week, his break even, which is currently -10, is going to really go skyrocketing. And it's probably going to go, not skyrocketing, but it's going to be more than a negative number. So what you actually find is the players, like if you are looking at, say, prioritizing players in terms of cheapies, and you're looking at break evens, ideally the cheapies that you're getting in have got a good score in round 2, and it's better than round 1, because the round 1 score is going to be the first one to drop out. If the player goes out and absolutely smashes it in round 3, that score will stay in the rolling average for 3 weeks, not just 2. So that's another thing to be thinking about. So the round 1 score, like a Shibasaki, he scored well round 1, not so much in round 2. On the flip side, you've got someone like a Tom Starling, who was still good round 1 of 63, but then he went out and scored 103. That 103 is going to be in his rolling average for much longer. So that's just something to be wary of when you're looking at players with these negative break evens and trying to then predict how much cash are they going to generate. And that, of course, then feeds into, okay, do I prioritize getting in this cheapie or this other one? So this is a slide I've actually done. I think I made this slide 2-3 years ago. It's still relevant, so I've always just kept it. But yes, someone like a Jesse Arthur's 4x4 fishing battle says, is Jesse Arthur's a cash cow? Yeah, he is absolutely a cash cow. He doesn't fit either of those two examples I gave because he scored like 95 in both weeks. It was like 94 and 96. So he's done very well in both rounds. Just getting quickly back to the TLT update. So I guess staying on the Broncos, Tony Staggs is named in the reserves, which may be an issue potentially for Shibasaki, but I guess that's not an issue for this week most likely. It's probably going to be maybe for next week or the week after, which it comes down to which one of Mariner or Shibasaki will come out for Tony Staggs whenever Tony Staggs is back in that team. Lockie Hubner, who has been a pretty decent cheapie, he's now out for 2 weeks, so his price is not going to change. He was, I think, 232k. So if you were looking at him, probably not one I'd be considering now. I think generally when it comes to trade strategy for this week, you want to be jumping on the guys who you think are going to be going up massively in price, who if you don't get them this week, you think price is going to be too much out of the way that I'm not going to go get them next week. Those are the guys you need to prioritize. So if you're thinking of people like, say, Dragons players who are on the bye, Melbourne Storm players, their prices don't change because you need to have played 3 games and they've had a bye last week. They're players who won't change in price. So I think you need to be prioritizing, in my opinion, the guys who are going to be changing in price this week. So Lockie Hubner has been a good cheapie so far, but I think you wouldn't be going out and buying him this week. On the Knights, Kaipi's Paul's out for a couple of weeks suspension, so Adam Elliott moves to lock, Tyson Frizzell to the edge. Not overly relevant in terms of, I guess, your main Knights assets like the Marzus, Pongas, and Dylan Lucases. Manly, obviously, there's big news this week with Turbo and Daly Cherry Evans. Both have been named for now. I've got a specific section on fullback, so we'll get into that a little bit later. But just to keep things concise if possible, my view on Turbo and what I'm going to do with him, I am a Turbo owner. I'll probably just hold, even if potentially, because he plays the very last game of the week, which is a bit frustrating for Supercoach because it means if he's not named and you wanted to pivot off him, you can only trade him to players in the same Manly team or you go to Raiders players. I personally think I will just keep Turbo, and even if he's not named this week, he's been named this week. If he doesn't end up playing, I'd feel very confident that he would be back next week, and he plays Parramatta. I see Benny's in the chat. Unfortunately, apologies to any Parramatta Eels fans. You and the Cowboys are already the teams that we're looking to target. He has a home game against Parramatta next week. Look, even if Turbo's out for this week, I highly doubt I'll be selling him. I think I'll just be holding him through this week. The fact that he's been named and he has a longer turnaround because he plays on Sunday, it gives me a little bit more confidence that I think Turbo I will just stick with for the time being. And he's been named, so hopefully he goes and runs out this week. And then the last thing on the Raiders, which is also quite relevant, Tamale has been named on the wing. Xavier Savage is back from his own suspension. And so we finally probably can see a full-strength Canberra Raiders backline that doesn't have Albert Hopewadi in the starting team. So Tamale does look like he's got that spot now. There are probably going to be lingering job concern issues where, if he puts in a couple of bad performances, then yes, maybe he does lose his spot in the end. But for now, it looks like he's got that jersey. Albert Hopewadi has been named as 19th man in the reserves, but I think you can probably go out and buy Tamale with confidence as well this week. Just quickly on Turbo as well, what you can do, and we'll get onto my team later and maybe I'll talk through what I'm thinking, but you can put Turbo in your flex position, and if he is ruled out and you want to sell, you can sell to other Raiders players like Tamale, or you can sell to even Tom Starling. Like, you can put those guys in your flex position. So you've got that flexibility with the flex position now as well. All right, that's kind of the things I wanted to touch on TLT. So I think the main topic that people are probably looking at is on the cash gen side of things. So that was the biggest topic that people were voting for: cash gen, Jesse Arthurs, Tamale, Tom Starling. So I've got a slide here which is on break-evens. And so this has got the best and worst break-evens, and this is around the top 20 to 25. So not all players who are, I guess, noteworthy are going to be in this particular list here. But yes, this will be this will probably cover off the main guys that I think people are considering and looking at. So Luke says, sorry, how dumb am I? I picked Purdue, Duffy, and Cotter. Oh yeah. Yeah, this is probably going to be a theme of the stream as well. Like, what do you do with the Eels players? What do you do with the Cowboys players and things like that? Because I think, at the moment they're not looking like a team that you want to be investing in. I don't know. I'm a Jermaine Hopgood owner. I was keen on him. Yeah, look, I think he may be getting sold this week potentially as well. So I think the name, and I think he is the most traded in player currently, is Jesse Arthurs. So 342k, and he's got a negative 82 break even, which is actually ridiculous. Look, historically, Supercoach wise, he's been someone who scores around like the mid 30s, high 30s. But with Ben Hunt in that Broncos team, it seems like he's got a new vein of attacking stats coming his way. Because if you look at 2021 till 2024, 38, 37, 37, 35. And he's so far gone out and gone 94 and 96. Probably the two biggest games of him Supercoach wise. So he's got an absolutely massive negative break even, and he is set to make bulk cash. Got Robert Toya, negative 70 break even. I think most people will probably own Toya already. I think he's about 60 something % owned at the moment is what I was looking at. So I think he's probably not going to be someone that people are looking to purchase, but I think if you don't have him, yes, absolutely. I think he's a fantastic trade in at bottom dollar. He is set to make some big coin. Then you've got Tamale, who we've just spoken about, negative 59 break even at 232k. Looks very, very good. Jason Saab as well has a very big negative break even. I think with him, he's a little bit more difficult to get to because of his price, but he's also very heavily reliant on what happens with Turbo and Cherry Evans. At the moment, because I think we've got so many other guys who are cheaper than him set to make more money, I'm probably going to be fading for the time being. Tuipulotu's on the buy. Sanders Smith, I think most people already own, so I think he's been very good for us so far. Negative 51 break even, good, set to make good cash. Gutherson looks amazing so far at the Dragons. Again, he's on the buy, so I don't think he's a consideration. I won't go through every single name on this list here, but Shibasaki we've kind of briefly spoken about. Mamazelis is putting his hand up maybe as a cheapy hooker consideration. I think Corey Horsburgh is pretty highly owned. I would say most engaged coaches have got him already. Matty Nicholson looked great last week as well. Again, he's only played one game so far, so he won't change in price. So I think if you can afford to get him in this week, I think it's safe now that you know that Zach Hosking is also out 4 to 6 weeks with that hand injury. But again, his price won't change this week. So I think if you can, I'd probably just delay it till next week. I'm sure you probably have other trades that are more pressing than getting in someone like Nicholson this week, unless you're looking at him as your best downgrade option to free up funds. Jamie Humphreys, we'll talk about him in a bit of detail, but he's got a negative 25 break even. We've got Lockie Hubner we've spoken about. Chanel Harris-Tavita has been actually sneaky good at 5'8", 331k. He's got a negative 21 break even, set to make good money. And then you've got like Corey Pex as well, rounding it out with a minus 21 break even. On the high break evens, I probably won't speak too much about them. It is typically going to be your more expensive gun players who, because they started at such high prices, they need to really come out of the gates fast to keep a low break even. Otherwise, their break even is going to skyrocket. That's why you see the guys here mostly like in the 500, 600, 700, 800k price tags. So we won't go through all of these in detail. We'll probably touch on them, I think, separately as we go through. So I think the main question that people probably have, he's the most traded in player this week, is Jesse Arthurs. But I think even more than that, I feel like the main question people are having is who do you pick out of Arthurs, Tamale, Tom Starling? So I'm looking at a question here from Swagman, which is Duffy to Starling or Humphreys. So again, that's a Starling versus Humphreys question. Jesse Arthurs versus Tamale is a question I've also had myself. So I've got answers for this. Don't worry. We'll get to it. Oh, where's my... Oh, here it is. Okay, so quickly on Jesse Arthurs. So I guess just wanting to put some context as to why he's obviously so highly traded in, if people weren't aware. So obviously he's absolutely killed it the first 2 rounds. Negative 82 break even. The draw is probably the main thing. And one thing I will say as well, guys, I haven't fully updated my draw difficulty spreadsheet in terms of the color coding. So don't fully take stock of what I've put as the colors here in terms of the easiest versus most difficult opponents, because for example at the moment I've got the West Tigers still as the bright green. I'd probably change it to them being a slightly lighter shade of green, and instead I'd probably highlight the Cowboys, for example, as like a bright green fixture. And his next 4 games are all at home, which is generally where the Broncos do perform better. Nothing has actually changed with him in terms of work rate. He's still a low base, so he's got a low floor. He's a low floor pick. His base stats in the last 2 weeks have been 17 and 23. The last 2 years at the Broncos, his averages were 21 and 18 in base. So nothing really has changed there. The difference is literally just that he's got all these attacking stats coming his way. He scored 4 tries in the first 2 rounds. The fact that he's got such a good draw as well, I think is what makes him so appealing. What I did was I went very, very conservatively and using NRL SuperCoach Stats.com price change calculator, which honestly, guys, I think for a week like this is one of the most useful things that you can use. I'll put a link for it actually in the chat below. And yeah, I say it every week. Well, if I don't say it, I should say it. NRL SuperCoach Stats is like the bloodline of this YouTube channel. Like everything they put out there is so crucial for what I do. So what you can do is play with their price change calculator. And I really encourage this as well if you are tossing up between cheapies, because that's what I've been doing a lot of today. So with Jesse Arthurs, what I did was, okay, let's assume he scores 45. I'll give him an average of 45 for the next 8 rounds, which I think is reasonable because it's giving him, say, base stats of 20, and then maybe he scores, like, say, even if I gave him a try without a line break every week, or let's just say his base plus 1 attacking stat is going to get him to around 45. Let's just say that's what we expect him to be performing at. If you plug that in for the next 8 rounds, his price will peak at 476k, and that's only in round 4, and he would have made 135k. And generally, my measuring stick for a cheapie, and if they've made enough, if they justified the trade-in, is if they're going to make at least 100 to 120 of cash. It looks like he's going to comfortably make that, even if he just goes and scores 45. I think the fact that he's got such a good draw, and you can clearly see that more attacking stats are going his way, I think he is a very good trade-in, and I think definitely worth targeting. If you're comparing him to, say, Tamale, who I've got a similar kind of graphic here as well. So more job security risk with Tamale, that's for sure, because if he puts in a couple of poor performances, Hopewadi will probably likely, I guess, go and take that spot back. Tamale is a little bit safer in that his base power average in the opening 2 rounds is 43.5. Jesse Arthurs, I didn't calculate what his was, but I'm going to guess it's less than 43.5. So what I did for Tamale, I said, okay, I'll give him also an average of about 45 for the next few rounds, and let's see what that does for his price. So for him, because he's starting at a much lower price, he's 232k, he would eventually make 182k if you waited all the way until round 11. Both of them will make similar cash in the opening 2 rounds. But the concern, I guess, with Tamale is that the job security is there. Jesse Arthurs has no job security concerns and are probably a better draw on paper. But I still like Tamale as well as an awesome trade-in, because the Raiders are looking awesome. And their draw is actually really, really good if you look at it on paper. Manly way is not the best, but then we're looking at Cowboys. Sharks is a bit difficult, but then you're looking at Para, Titans, Dolphins. Up until round 8, the draw is looking really, really good. At that point in round 8, if you're getting to Melbourne, he would have made you 170k. You can easily then flick him on for someone else and cash in, or you can even just keep him because he's actually quite playable given that he's got that good base power floor. So I think, gun to my head, if you're picking between Tamale and Jesse Arthurs, I take Arthurs, one, because he's got that high negative break even. He's got better job security. The big concern with Jesse Arthurs, and you do need to just be prepared for this, is that he does have low games in him. He can have games where he literally just goes and scores like 25. So if you want to run those numbers into a price change calculator, if you're still happy with how much money he's going to make, then I still think he's worth the trade-in. Because the one thing I think you'd probably hate would be missing out on him. And if he goes in the next 4 weeks and scores and averages maybe, say, even if he averages 60 to 65, he's probably going to be getting close to 200k of really quick cash, and then you just convert him. And then, like, that cash generation is really important at the beginning of the season. But ideally, you want cash in and points. I think the fact that he's got a really good draw means that you've got both of those potentially on offer. Tamale, I think the points potential is probably not going to be quite there, given that his draw is a little bit more difficult, you'd say, in the next 3 to 4 weeks. And so I think I'd take a chance on Jesse Arthurs over Tamale if you're only having to trade one of the two in. Jesse Arthurs is a little bit more expensive. He's like 110 more. He's 110k more, but I think he's the one who I'd be leaning, and I think most people seem to be agreeing that way because he is the most traded in player at the moment. In hindsight, I wish I started with Tamale, but it is what it is. So Wooden Spoon SC says, aren't you worried about Tamale's job security? There hasn't been all 3 of the potential wingers available for selection yet. I think Wooden Spoon SC, we've got that this week, because what happened was in the round 1, we didn't have Albert Hopewadi because he was watching. I think he didn't play because his wife was expecting, so he didn't play that week. Then in round 2, Xavier Savage had a 1-week suspension. So again, Tamale and Hopewadi were the wingers. This week, all 3 of them are available, and it's Tamale and Savage. So I think we can assume that at least for now, Tamale's got the jersey. I guess the risk with him is, yes, he might lose a position, but if that happens in 2-3 weeks, look, he's probably still made you at least 100k, and he's quite playable. So I think I'm happy to go and bring in Tamale this week. But I think I'd definitely prefer Arthur's. Yes, he's got a much lower game in him, but I think he has shown already so far this year a bit of a ceiling, and so I think he can easily make 150k really quickly. And he's got a very good draw. So Greyvox says Arthur's is going to go back to his old ways of scoring sub-20s now that everyone has traded him in. Look, it wouldn't shock me because he has got those in him, but look, the draw is so good. The Cowboys just gave up so many points to opposition wingers as well. I believe Sam Stone Street went and scored over 100 against them on the weekend. I would expect the Broncos to bounce back as well, and they can probably smell blood and see that the Cowboys are struggling at the moment. They've changed their halves this week. So I think the Broncos will want to bounce back, and I can see Jesse Arthur's, performing quite well. Now, is it Durian3 says Starling or Tamale? So Starling, I guess, is probably the next big kind of cash generator that people are looking at. It's really difficult because I think I've got the same thing. There's 4 guys I really want to get in this week, which is Arthur's, Tamale, Starling, and Payne Haas. Those are like the 4 guys who I would love to be getting in this week, but you can't bring in 4, you have to bring in 3. And so it's trying to prioritize all of them. And so look, I'll admit I'm not 100% certain on what my option is going to be. I've got trade scenarios that involve 3 out of those 4 guys, but we'll get into that at the end of the stream. But yeah, I'll put it this way. I think if you're going Starling or Tamale, I would probably go Starling. So a couple of reasons why I'd go Starling. So Tamale's got that job security risk. I think at the moment Starling, he's probably got that incentive of, Jaden Brayley's coming to the club next year. He's probably playing for a contract, and he's been absolutely killing it. He's played good minutes as well. 68 and 70 minutes, I believe, is what he's played in the opening 2 rounds. I pulled some stats on him earlier today as well. So let me just quickly bring those up. I've actually got that on screen here. So you can see round 1, round 2 of this year, where he scored 63 and 103. And then if you look at 2024, so in 2024, he had, let me quickly see, he had 7 games where he played over 60 minutes. In those games, so his average minutes was 74, his average points was 62, his average base was 47. If you even extend that to the 1 game he had in 2023 where he played over 60 minutes, he actually scored 95 points in that particular game and had base of 52. So I think what you can see with Starling is that if he just gets over 60 minutes, which it looks like the role is, he will generally get you at least 50 points in base. That's 47 to 50 points in base. And then you also add that he's been able to get some more attacking stats. The Canberra forward pack is absolutely rolling at the moment. Draw long term is really good. They actually don't have a buy until round 15 as well. So like he's easily someone that you can kind of hold for a while. The numbers really suggest that he's kind of a low 60s averaging player when he plays over 60 minutes. And he's 341k. So what I did is, again, NRL SuperCoach Stats price change calculator. I plugged in an average of 63 for him. And what that showed was that by round 11 versus the Titans, he would have made 240k in cash, 200k cash by round 6 against Parramatta. So you're already looking at someone who within the first 4 rounds can make almost 200k. That's potentially almost even better than a Jesse Arthur's or Tamale. The question also then becomes your squad structure. Like, do you have problems at hooker? If you don't, do you need to bring in Starling? I think the best play, and we'll get on to Tom Duffy in a little bit, I'm definitely much more keen on Starling than I am Humphreys. So if you can make the money work, I think, in my opinion, the best strategy is to go Tom Duffy to Starling via Sanders Smith if you've got Sanders Smith as your backup hooker. And then what you can do is Tom Starling can make, if he makes 200, 250k, like this is showing that he might get up to say 550, 560k. He could be a ticket to a gun halfback like a Nico Hines, because you can then trade Starling to halfback, bring Sanders Smith straight back up to hooker, and Tom Starling can be your gateway to a gun halfback. If you've got the duels like with Metcalf, you can even go to a gun 5'8" as well. Then if you've got the duels, you can go to center. You get what I mean. I think his cash gen is going to be really, really good, but I also think he's got that added benefit of its cash gen, but also pretty good points as well. If he's averaging low 60s, you'd be happily slotting that into your hooker 1 position. So I really like Tom Starling as a trade-in. My preference out of the Starling, Arthurs and Tamale is Arthurs and Starling. It's a little bit difficult because they are on the slightly more expensive side of things, whereas Tamale is like 232k. But I'm really, really keen on Tom Starling. If I can get him this week, then I will try to do that. Even though I'm actually in a pretty good position at hooker, I've got Connor Watson and Sandon Smith. But I think what people will probably find is that second row forward is looking a little bit weak. I'm actually happy to play Tom Starling as my hooker 1 and just move Connor Watson down to second row forward for the time being. I can even use Tom Starling then as a stepping stone to a gun to a gun second row forward if I want as well. So having these duels also makes things very handy. But yeah, very keen on Tom Starling. I think the historical stats do show that when he plays over 60 minutes, he's been pretty good for Supercoach. And I think we're finally seeing that. It's been a long time since we've wanted this for a long time. We're getting it. And I think very interested in him. So, and the draw is very good as well. So hopefully that answers a few of your questions about the rankings. I would probably rank them as Arthurs, Starling, and Tamale. I've actually got a trade situation which can get all 3. The problem is though that I can't then get Payne Haas, who I'm extremely, extremely interested in. R2 Rusty says KO Weeks, hold or sell. Just quickly answering that question because I know it's relevant to the Raiders. I think KO Weeks is a sell. He's been very, very disappointing. He's got a very high break, even 114. I think at 530k, if you've got the ability to move to like a Munster, who's only say 70k more, you can go get a Munster. If you've got the duels, you can move to someone else. But I think 33 and 21 is not good enough. I think at that price, I think you'd sell. KO Weeks. I'll take this question now. I'm seeing a couple of questions now about Payne Haas. I'll quickly answer that before we get on to maybe Humphreys. So a couple of questions that we're seeing from the chat here. So Sets is saying Hopgood has to go, Haas straight in. So, the question there being Hopgood to Haas, which is something I've seen a lot of on social media. That's also one trade that I'm also looking at personally. Nick Mitrevsky is saying, would it not be worth to just wait a week on Payne Haas, death ride him into a 60 for a week, and then pay up next week? So this is the thing, right? This is the difficulties of this particular week when prices start changing, is that you need to be really selective about who are you looking to get in and can you make the money work and stuff? Because Payne Haas has got a break even of 9. I haven't actually run the calcs on what he potentially could change in price, but let's just do it now real quick live on air like I'm on the radio. Okay, let's just give him, I'll give him 80 points. Let's give him 80 points. So if Payne Haas goes and scores 80 points this week, he'll make 55k. So yes, he would be going from 670k to 725k, which is a lot. And if you're looking at someone like a Hopgood, he has a break even, I think, of 107. If he goes out and scores like say 60, he's probably going to lose himself maybe 30, 40k. So that's automatically like a 90 to 100k point swing. If you don't do that particular move. But I guess the thing is that if you miss out on someone like I say Tom Starling, who when I had before, I had him going up 94k as well. Jesse Arthurs could go up about 100k. Tamale, did I run the numbers? Yeah, Tamale I had going up 82k. Look, I think it's similar thing, but the ability for Payne Haas to go out and go so much in price that you won't get him is a bit different, I think, to those cheapies. I maybe am leaning a little bit more towards, yes, maybe you potentially can wait a week on Payne Haas, but my God, he's looking absolutely ridiculous. I'm more than happy for people to sell Hopgood to Haas because I think it's just night and day between the two of them. It's not so much a fault of Hopgood. I think it's just that the Eels are so bad at the moment that, Hopgood needs some attacking stats to be at that gun level, and he's going to get the minutes, but he needs to also be the ball to be in play. He can't just be standing under the goalpost watching conversion after conversion eat into his minutes and therefore his work rate. The thing with Payne Haas is that he's offloading so much as well. Like I've got a graphic here for base stats leaders so far for the first 2 rounds. I mean, Payne Haas is just, I've actually never seen anything like this since I've been making YouTube videos and stuff. But his average base power over the first two rounds is 92. This is base power. Like, it's stupid. And his base power PBM is 1.75. Like, Terrell May's numbers are outrageous as well, 84.5. But like, he's still 7 points less than Payne Haas. Like, it's actually ridiculous what he's doing. It looks like he's got a license to offload and stuff. And this has always been the thing with him. Like, if he can get the arm free and offload, then he just becomes ridiculously scary when it comes to Supercoach. So, yes, I'm very, very interested in Payne Haas. And that's the decision I have to make is, can I forego a Tamale or an Arthurs or a Starling and instead maybe get in like a Payne Haas? R2 Rusty saying Haas or Carrigan. 100% I'd be getting Payne Haas. I think, like Carrigan was good round 1, but he got 53 round 2. I mean, Payne Haas is just on a different level, I think. There's a few questions. Sell Yo or Hopgood to Payne Haas. So Isaiah Yo, he had probably, I think, his lowest Supercoach score in forever, I think it was, of only 41. Look, I think of the two, I'd probably be holding on more to Isaiah Yo than I think Hopgood. At least with Isaiah Yo, look, I look at that game as an outlier. And I think he'd be getting back to his 60s and 70s pretty soon. It's a good Penrith team. With Hopgood, I think with the Eels, it's much more difficult to say when that turnaround is going to happen. Isaiah's break-even is also less than Hopgood, so he's probably going to lose less money. So, yes, I think I would be keeping Isaiah. And Hopgood wasn't great on the weekend either, as Nick also says. He had a few errors and things, gave away some penalties as well. There's a couple of questions about Jacob Preston as well. So people are asking about Preston to Payne Haas as well. So, I will clarify as well, guys, I haven't been able to watch that much footy as well as the last couple of rounds, just been so busy. So I haven't fully seen or watched the Bulldogs, if I'm being honest. So I haven't really been able to gauge like the eye test on Preston. Just looking at some of his stats here, 45 base in round 1, 41 in round 2, did score a try. He looks like he's kind of putting up numbers that he used to. So I don't think anything's really that different there, like his average of 58. I don't think he's necessarily a sell, but I do think there's maybe some concern that with Matt Burton now being out for a few weeks, has he maybe lost an potential attacking outlet? I think if you are like, yes, I would, at this point in time, I'd much prefer Payne Haas to Preston. Preston, though, doesn't feel as big of a sell, though, compared to someone like maybe a Hopgood. So that's a tough one. I think, look, I think if you've got that feels like a luxury trade to me. Like if you can do Preston to Payne Haas. I understand the appeal. That might be one where his break-even is only 78. So if he goes out and scores 50 to 60 this week, his price won't go down that much. If you can maybe wait 1 week on Payne Haas, and if you can prep your team this week to maybe have like say 70, 80k in the bank. If you see Preston and you don't like what you see again and Payne Haas kills it again, then sure, you can maybe do that move next week. I feel like with Preston, I might need one more data sample because he's also got Parramatta this week. So I think Parramatta is a matchup I would definitely be targeting. I'd give it 1 more week against Parramatta. He might actually come good and score like 100, and then you might be happy with holding him. So I think, just checking now, the fact that he's versing Parramatta, I think I'll be keeping Preston and not selling for Payne Haas. Payne Haas or Tino? So this is a great question as well. I think this week, if you're buying, it's Payne Haas because his price is about to go up. He's got a break even of 9. Tino, I think, has got a break even that's also quite good. It's let me have a look here. Yeah, his break even is about -3. But the thing is, Tino won't go up in price this week. So I think, again, going back to what I said at the beginning of the stream, ideally you prioritize guys who are changing price this week. I think Tino, you wait a week if you're wanting to get Payne Haas instead. If you could only get one of the two, I'd still only get Payne Haas. But I do think Tino is almost close to a must trade next week as well. If you've got the luxury in getting him in this week, then I think by all means go for it because I think he's going to be awesome. Do I move sideways from a gun to free up cash for Payne Haas? It really comes down to, I guess, which gun you're selling. It's not so easy to just give a broad generic answer. Hamole a sell to Payne Haas? I don't think so. Only just round 1 Hamole was scoring 100 and everyone was very keen on him. Look, he's got Parramatta next week. And look, I hate to crap on Parramatta in the stream or the Cowboys for that matter, but you need to be looking at timings of things. And I think coming up against Parramatta next week, I think you just keep him for that. And I think Olukwatu is completely fine. He's playing at home again this week as well. Who is more of a must this week, Haas or Humphreys? So I'll quickly get on to Jamie Humphreys, since we haven't spoken about him yet this stream. So of the two, I think I prefer Payne Haas to Humphreys. I think they're very different. like Humphreys is a potential cash cow. Payne Haas is just an absolute gun. But yeah, so Duffy to Humphreys. So I think this is actually, just looking at NRL SuperCoach, this is the most common trade in the entire week. So we're looking at 3,500 trades of Tom Duffy to Jamie Humphreys. Jamie Humphreys is 305k, put up pretty decent scores in the opening 2 rounds. We're looking at, I think it was 67 last week, and I think a 55 the week before. 55 and then 67. And then he's got a negative 25 break even, so set to make a pretty good amount of cash. I don't know if this is silly or not, but like, I'm not that keen on Humphreys. Like, my gut feel is not that he, like, I always think of SuperCoaches like, who are the guys who I'm going to really massively regret if I don't get, or who are the guys who scare me. Payne Haas falls into the scare me category right now. I think Jesse Arthurs and Starling at the moment look like I'd have a bit of regret if I didn't jump on them, because I think they're going to make really good cash. Humphreys, I feel like, is not going to do that to me. That's just my gut feel. Like, he's had good opening rounds in terms of scores, but also who he's played. He's played the Dolphins and the Dragons. He's been goal kicking, which has helped boost his scores up as well. He now does go into a very tough run, though. We're looking at Sharks, Penrith, Roosters. Cowboys is good in round 6. Then it's Bulldogs, Melbourne. Like, that's a very, very tough run. My concern is that, if the Rabbitohs don't score more than, say 12 to 18 points, his base is pretty good. Like, he based 35 and 26. He might go out and score maybe in the mid 30s. Maybe he'll score in the, the 40s, 45s, which is not bad for his price. That's kind of what I gave for Jesse Arthurs. The difference with someone like, say, Arthurs is that I've got much more faith because the draw is really good for him. Whereas with Humphreys, I think the draw is so difficult that, I don't think that his attacking output's going to really be that. The potential for it, I don't think is going to be that good. Plus, Latrell is due back soon. Actually, Owen Terzis in the chat is saying that Latrell is due back round 5. So I don't know what the exact return is, but if it is around round 5, round 6, he's going to lose the goal kicking once Latrell is back too. So automatically you are taking maybe 5 to 10 points away from him. And then all of a sudden, that 55 and 67, let's call it 45 and 57, still good scores, but he's still not probably looking as though as the ultimate cash cow. Plus, you have got that risk of Lewis Dodd. So Lewis Dodd was suspended, and then he came back through New South Wales Cup. It looks like Humphreys has got the jersey at the moment, so I think it's his to lose. But there is some job security concern about him as well. So me personally, I'm looking at guys like Jesse I keep saying their names, but Tom Starling is the big one. If you can move Duffy to Starling via Sanders Smith at hooker, I'm definitely way more in favour of that move. I just think that Tom Starling's job security is way safer. He's got a good draw. I think Humphreys, he does need attacking stats to keep making cash. With a really tough draw, I just feel like I don't love that schedule, and therefore I don't know how good of a cash generator he's going to be. So I'm not overly that keen on Humphreys. If he's your only outlet for Duffy, then sure, I get it, because at least Humphreys will make some money. But there is still 107, 108k price difference between the two. So you still have to spend up some money to actually make that cash as well. So yeah, I'm not personally a massive fan of Humphreys. I know he's one of the more popular trade-ins for this week. I'm going to quickly check what he is. He's second. He's got 13,000 trade-ins at the moment, which makes sense because of the whole Tom Duffy being dropped. But yeah, I don't know, my gut is just telling me that with that draw, I think it might be a little bit difficult for him to maintain the scoring. And with Latrell coming back as well, I think the goal kicking being taken away from him, yeah, it will even more so cap his scoring. So really good NRL player and looks very good both in NRL and physically. He's a bit of a specimen, but for the SuperCoach at the moment, I'm not really feeling it, which could be wrong. Come back to me next week or next 2 weeks if I've made a completely big mistake there. But yeah, I'm not that keen on him at the moment, actually. Amar, you're the GOAT. Thank you. He's a way better kicker than Latrell. That may be true, Tom, but the thing is that, Latrell's the big gun player. He's on the big bucks. He's the one who's going to be picking back the goal kicking, though, when he walks back into that team. Most likely is what we expect. Kane is asking Haas and Tamale or Munster and Starling. Oh, God, that's a tough one. That's difficult. Oh, man, how do you answer that? I mean, if you're having to trade this week, Haas and Tamale, because they both go up in price. Long term, I think I'll still stick with... I'm going to say Munster Starling, because front row's stacked this year. like the thing is, like I know Payne Haas is really good, but you've got Terrell May, Corey Horsburgh, Tino. They can already be 3 in your front row. I'll go back to the slide as well, but we didn't even speak about, like, I mentioned this I think in the post I made earlier, but like someone like a Fisher Harris, I think in previous years, people would be looking at him way more. He's 549k, but he's putting up amazing stats. His base power average in the first 2 rounds is 66. Really good PPM as well. I just want to see what his break-even is. He's got a break-even, like he's put up 61 and 75. Very, very solid scores at your front row. So you could put someone else in at front row than Payne Haas. The problem is that Payne Haas, you look at the numbers up the top there, he's just performing like an absolute machine. So whereas at 5'8", you don't have many replacements apart from maybe Munster, Galvin, Dylan Brown, and things like that. Cool. All right. So there's a couple of questions here I can see a question here from Flybets on Reece Walsh and Turbo. So I've got a slide on fullback, so I'll quickly just pivot to that one. So long story short, I spoke about Turbo earlier in the stream. I don't think that Turbo is a sell because I just look at round 4 against Parramatta at home, and I think if he's fit, I might want to captain him that week, and he could go and score 140 by halftime. This potentially is how it is. And this is the same for Ruben Garrick. I can see some people are saying, looking at selling Garrick. I haven't pulled the stats up on Garrick, but let me have a quick look at him here. Yeah, one thing, his base is down. So last year, I think his base was around the mid-30s. His base 33 and 26 the opening 2 weeks, which is a little bit lower than what he was last year. I wonder if it's maybe he's a little bit concerned about the head knocks. Maybe he's just not running as hard or whatnots and stuff like that. But I just think you paid for Garrick at the start of the year because of the really good draw. They still got it with, they've got the Raiders at home and Parramatta at home the next 2 weeks. I would at least give him those 2 weeks. And then if he really is underperforming, then sure, you might be able to flick on, because then he goes into Melbourne and then the Sharks. And Reece Walsh, look, it's difficult with Reece Walsh because I think, yes, he looked awful on the week, like absolutely awful. And he's got a very high break even as well. It's 129, 129. But if I was a Reece Walsh owner, I would be holding this week. I don't think I'd be selling him when he's got the Cowboys, Dolphins, Tigers, and Roosters, all 4 of them at Suncorp in the next 4 rounds. I just think that, yes, he might go down in price, but there's also potential for him to go out and score 120, 100, and then you'll all of a sudden, whatever money he lost, he'll get back in like 2 to 3 rounds. I just feel like he's got too good of a draw, I think, that I'd be selling at this point in time. One of the other more popular trade-ins this week is, I think, Ponga. Ponga is the 8th most traded in player at the moment. I really like Ponga. He's looking amazing. I'm so happy I've got him at the moment. He's probably the best captain this week as well versus the Titans, in my opinion. So I think I would, if you're looking at getting Ponga and you don't have him already, definitely think he's a very good trade-in because he'll probably go up in price with a break-even of 39. And he's got that really big 129 in his rolling average now for 2 weeks. So yeah, definitely would be looking at Ponga, I think, this week. The other thing as well with Turbo, Reece Walsh and things, look, even if both of them play this week and go down, and if you decide you want to sell them next week, you've got Gutherson and Pappenhausen both there in the 600s, both with, well, Gutherson's got like a negative 46 break even. Pappenhausen's got a break even of 1. If he goes and scores like, say, 70, 80, he'll probably have a negative break even. So you've got other options next week that you can move to that will definitely be going up in price as well. Alrighty. Let's see if there's any other questions. So 5'8", I know some people might be selling Matt Burton. So, Munster, I think, is probably the one who I'd be targeting at 5'8". He's the 7th most traded in player, actually. Looked good in round 1 with a score of 99, albeit that was against Parramatta. So maybe that's a little bit inflated in what we normally expect from him. I'm an owner, very happy with having him for the time being. Draw looks really good as well from round 4 as well. So I'm very happy to have Munster. I think if you're selling like a Matt Burton, or if you're selling Jerome Luai, who I think Luai is a sell if you do own him. I think the scores are too low at the moment with the break even of 111. I think I'd be moving on. I think if you wanted to move to Galvin, I don't hate that because they've got a pretty good draw up until round 7. So Galvin could be really good. He looked really, really good in the week on the weekend. Dylan Brown, I think I probably wouldn't be going to, even though he himself is solid, just the Eels, I just don't think I'd be looking at buying Eels players at the moment. I think Munster's probably your best direct swap for a Burton or Luai seller. If you're going down in price, I like Adam Dwayhe. Good draw, goal kicking as well, and he's kept the goal kicking, so I think you can free up some money doing that. Or if you want to go with Chanel Harris-Tavita, he's got a negative 21 break even. Warriors looked much better on the weekend. They do have a bye coming up in round 5 though. That's the only thing I'd just be wary of. So yeah, Dylan Bauer is asking Chanel Harris-Tavita as a 5'8". I think the thing is that he's probably not one of the more popular trade-ins this week. Probably just because I think most people's 5'8" is probably okay. Most people probably have Luke Metcalf and maybe call it like a Brimson or Munster or maybe a Dewey or like a Dylan Brown. They're just not big enough problems that I think you need to go get Harris-Tavita. And I think a lot of people don't want to have both Metcalf and Harris-Tavita. That's probably also a risk because then come round 5, both of them are going to be on the bye. And if you have both of them at 5'8", you're going to have no one available to play that week. That's probably the only, I guess, cons against Harris-Tavita. But otherwise, in his own right, I think he's actually a pretty good trade-in. He's actually looked okay in the opening 2 rounds. Would you go Ponga over Haas? I think, yes, I would go Kalen Ponga over Payne Haas this week, just purely because while Payne Haas has been absolutely killing it and he's gone and scored 100, like Ponga has shown that bigger ceiling already. 129 last week. I think he scored like 80 something in round 1, and I think he was pretty close to bigger points there as well. And he's playing against the Titans this week. Like, he's a genuine captain. Like, while Payne Haas has been awesome, I think less people are probably going to captain him than, say, maybe Kalen Ponga. So, yeah, definitely if I were in that position, I'd be getting Ponga over Payne Haas. Alec, he says, I've got Jerome Luai, but he went via duels to Jesse Arthurs. I think if you can do a trade like that, that makes a lot of sense to me. Just because we mentioned Ponga, a couple of people I've seen in the chat have also been asking about Dylan Lucas, and I haven't once mentioned Greg Marzu this whole stream as well. He's got a negative 5 break even. It's just tough though, because I think, some of the questions I was getting over on Patreon were, is it worth doubling up on Marzu and Dylan Lucas? I think absolutely it is, because I think the Knights do seem to have clicked into gear in terms of the attacking numbers, which they really were struggling with last year. Really good draw still too. Well, not really good. It's actually long term. It's a good draw because you're looking at Titans this week, a bye, Bulldogs, but this is now without Matt Burton and Kikau. Then it's the Tigers, Sharks, Warriors away. Gets a little bit tricky. Then it goes into Rabbitohs, Titans, and Parramatta. So it gets kind of good again. But they're just like, the thing is that even absent of attacking stats, they're just all putting up, like Ponga is Ponga. And then you've got Dylan Lucas, who's got a base power average of 66.5. And Marzu of 64. Like, even without attacking stats, these guys are still putting up numbers that justify their price. They both have gotten some attacking stats in the last couple of weeks as well. So it's a shame that, like, I feel like I can't even consider Marzu this week. I feel like I've just got so many other guys that I'm prioritizing in terms of cash generation. But my thing is that I've already got Ponga and Dylan Lucas. If I go and add Marzu, round 4 is going to be a bit difficult for me. With Marzu, I might just have to wear a price increase, and I might just have to go get him instead in round 5 or round 6. But really, really like him. And Fletcher Sharp as well. Like, I haven't even got him on this list here, but Fletcher Sharp is just an absolute jet. Like, he is so quick. 83 and 82 in the opening 2 rounds as well. He's expensive. He's 636k, and annoyingly, you can't get him at 5'8" because he was center wing fullback, I think, from the beginning of round 1, and they can't change duels to players who already have 2 positions. So that's unfortunate, but yeah, I think, I think I love the Knights players at the moment. These 3 plus Fletcher Sharp are definitely high on the shopping list, but I think when I skip, just to skip past that round 4 bye, and I think I'll relook at them in round 5. Dylan Lucas, I think, is an awesome trade-in, and one of the things that people might be thinking of, which I've played around with in my own team, just with trade scenarios, Dylan Lucas's duel means I could flick him to second row forward to try to get some cheapies at centre wing, and I think that's completely fine because I think we've actually got a good amount of playable centres. Even cheapies like Toya, he's got good base. Jesse Arthurs against the Cowboys, you'll probably play him. Tamale, you might want to play him. Plus, in addition to Garrick, maybe if you've got maybe you do have a Marzu already, or like a Skelton or a Tuivasa-Sheck, your centre wings are probably going to be pretty safe and playable. So I actually don't mind moving someone like a Dylan Lucas up to second row for the short term anyway, because second row is actually looking a little bit weak at the moment, whereas centre wing is looking decent. So I'm actually very happy to put Dylan Lucas up to my second row, and that's some of the He's actually been very useful for some of my potential trade plans this week. And look, I know Owen says, Ponga has the bye next week. I still would buy Ponga this week just purely because I think he's the best captain. He's one of those guys who, yes, he's got that bye around 4, but his ceiling is generally like 150 that I think he's worth the trade in because I think he's going to be the most captain player this week. I traded Turbo to Haas with Dylan Lucas's duel. It was glorious. There you go. So people who are looking to move on Turbo, look, I'm not agreeing with that personally. I think I'm going to hold Turbo, even if he's ruled out this week last minute. I'll probably just cop the week off and instead get him next week versus Parramatta. But yes, that's some of the benefit that Dylan Lucas can have with his dual status. We've kind of already spoken a little bit about cheap hookers. Like Starling, we spent a little bit of time on. Definitely would be looking at Starling or Mamazelis over Corey Pakes or Riley Smith, who I think are the other two. Mamazelis played good minutes last week, played 80 minutes. He's got a negative 35 break even. But I just think as you saw with Jamie Humphreys, the Rabbitohs draw is going to get pretty tough. I feel like he might be capped at maybe like a 45-point average just purely from base. But I feel like the attacking stats might be a little bit down because he scored 37 points in 72 minutes in round 1. Whereas the Tom Starling draw is much better. I think the potential for attacking stats and his base stats is better. So I'd definitely be looking at Starling over Mamazelis. If you already own Mamazelis, I think you'd be keeping. You'd be happy with the score last week and he'll make you definitely a decent amount of coin. Alright, I'm going to quickly touch on captains and then I'll get onto my team and some of your questions because I think I'm seeing quite a few questions coming in that I haven't been able to directly address. So I'll quickly talk about captaincy for this week. I think I've kept it pretty simple in terms of Cleary, Walsh, Hines, Ponga and Turbo. I think for VCs, your best VCs this week is probably Broncos players. So I think Reece Walsh, if you own, I would definitely be putting the VC on him. If not, Payne Haas, I think, is going to be your best bet for a safe VC. Because if Payne Haas is getting 100 in base power and then he goes and scores a line break try, he's going to score 130. And then you're looking at a pretty safe vice-captain loop. Hines is also a very good VC. We didn't really speak about Hines so much this stream, but he was back goal kicking, which is a very good sign. Rabbitohs at home, I think, is a good matchup. So he's also definitely a good VC or captaincy shout. I think if Turbo didn't have this hamstring tightness problem, he probably would have been my captain and I probably would have VC'd Ponga. I just think now, though, because of this potential doubt over him, I can't leave captaincy, I think, until Manly game because if Turbo's ruled out, I'd have to captain someone like maybe Garrick, which is fine, but it's not ideal. I'd rather have Garrick with Turbo. So I think for me, Ponga is going to be my captain on Saturday night versus the Titans at 7:30. I think just real-life NRL-wise, he's looking awesome, putting out really good Supercoach numbers as well. So I've got VC Cleary currently in my team. If I do get Payne Haas, I'll probably switch the VC to him. But captaincy, I think, is going to be pretty locked in on Ponga. Captain Turbo seems a bit harsh to Canberra, not going to lie. I will admit, I put this captain slide together before even this weekend. Because with things like captains, I try to look at them in advance just to see what matchups. But no, fair enough. Canberra have been very, very good. Heaps Sus, great name, says careful on Hines. Apparently not goal kicking at all today and barely training. Interesting. If you have a link to an article or something that says that, I wouldn't mind seeing that if you don't mind. But keep an eye out for news on that as well. Yeah, it's been very flip-floppy with his goal kicking and stuff like that. Knee complaint. That's not great to hear. Zach says, hey man, not SC related, but trying to chase 67 points to catch you in Whisperers Leagues FPL. I'm having a good FPL season actually. No, I will not be slowing down. I'll be trying to go for the glory. Owen saying I heard that too as well. Yeah, if a few people are seeing that, then there may be some truth to it. But yeah, let's keep our ears out for potential news on that one. All right, I think we've covered most of the main topics that I wanted to go through. So I think what we'll do is we'll talk about my team for the next little bit. Guys, if you are enjoying the stream as well so far, I think we've just hit the hour mark as well. Please do give the stream a like if you haven't been enjoying it. And anyone new watching as well, please do consider subscribing as well. I had a brief absence the last 2 rounds, but I'm back as per usual. will be my normal kind of Tuesday streams, but also the Sunday wrap-ups when I can. So yeah, to answer your question, Alec, is it Alec? Someone was asking me if I'm streaming next week. Yeah, I'll be streaming next week. Don't you worry. All right. Let me know if you guys can see my team. Now you should be able to see it actually. Oh, that's a bit messy. Sorry, 1 second. I just realized it's a very... Let's just get that out of the way. Sorry. Very rusty with the streaming, as you can tell. Yep. Oop. Okay. Let me know if you guys can see my screen with my team. So, all right, trade thoughts. I'm gonna have to pull out my phone because I literally have taken about a bazillion screenshots, and so I just need to remember what I was trying. Okay, so, oh God, where are they? This is great content that you all are waiting for. Okay, you guys can see this stream. That's good. Okay, so I've got a trade plan for getting in. I've spoken a lot about Tamale, Starling, and Jesse Arthurs. So I've got trades that can let me do that, which are, I can do Hopgood to Starling. I can put Watson down to Watson down to second row. Dimitri Valmoga has been not what I anticipated, so I think he can go. I can switch Dylan Lucas up to second row. I can bring in Jesse Arthurs for him, and then I can boost and trade out someone like... We didn't speak about Jackson Purdue that much this stream, but I don't think Purdue's necessarily a must sell, but if you are looking to free up space in your centers, he's probably one, I think, just to get off the Cowboys, and they've got a fairly tough run as well. I can do Purdue out and get in Tamale. That leaves me with 264k in the bank. And the reason I wanted to do this particular set of moves, I don't have to sell Hopgood this week, but I think it leaves my second row pretty good with Watson, Tino, and Dylan Lucas. Obviously, that means no Payne Haas. But my thoughts were, give it a week, 264k in the bank. What I can do next week is I can do maybe someone like a Seyfarth via duels to Payne Haas, even if Payne Haas goes up in price. Let's say Payne Haas goes up 80k. The difference between Seyfarth and Payne Haas right now, I've got enough to do Seyfarth to Payne Haas. There's maybe a 10k buffer. So next week I might have to free up say 70k if I wanted to do that move. I could do that maybe doing, what would I do next week? I could potentially, maybe there's an issue somewhere else in my team. Maybe I'd sell a Kobe Hetherington down to a cheapy second rower. I'll admit I haven't fully thought this through. So, and that the problem with this set of moves though is it means that Tom Duffy is still in my 17, and I haven't really solved that problem. But this was my first early thoughts in terms of if I wanted to get Starling, Arthurs, and Tamale all into my team this round. I couldn't afford to do it, I think, by selling Duffy, because if I did Duffy, let me do Duffy to hooker, get in Tom Starling. If I got rid of Dimitri, and then even if I didn't get rid of Dimitri, even if I would be happy to lose someone like a Kobe Hetherington. I just think he will be a little bit of a plodder. So I could do Tom Duffy and Hetherington to Starling and Arthurs. I'm 112k short, so I'd have to make a downgrade somewhere, which probably is a Hopgood. But then again, at 544k, there's no one at front row that I'm really desperate for. So that didn't feel like a great set of moves. If Hetherington instead became, if I sold Seyfarth, then maybe yes, I can. Sorry, I'm stuffing this up. Yeah, I can do Seyfarth and Duffy and almost get Starling and Arthurs. I'm short 16k. So then maybe I would do I might do something like a Hopgood to, I don't know, if only Payne Haas was cheaper. Anyway, you can see I haven't fully thought this through, but I don't have very clear trade plans in my head currently as it stands. If I was willing to forego... see, this is the problem. Sorry, guys. I really appreciate this is probably a terrible section to be listening to. I haven't really done that many trade plans where I was selling Duffy because I was doing trade plans yesterday and I didn't think he was getting dropped. He's been dropped and I have not factored in him getting dropped. So I haven't really thought through how I would sell him and make the trades work. Let's say I trade Duffy. And guys, please help me in the chat as well. If you can see me, you can clearly tell I'm struggling here. So I could do, say, let's say I'll do Tom Duffy to Starling. And let's say I do Hopgood to Payne Haas. I'm 121k short, so that's obviously not going to work for me. Because then I would actually, I would need to downgrade someone like Turbo. But I don't think I'm going to want to do that. I could do like maybe a Seyfarth to... Again, I don't have the money to say do like a Seyfarth down to a Matty Nicholson. So that doesn't work for me either. So basically, I don't think I'll be able to get Payne Haas this week, even though I really do want him. I think it's just going to be too difficult. So instead, my moves might just be focused on the cheapies. So for example, Tom Duffy and Hopgood to Starling and Jesse Arthurs. Unfortunately, I don't have any more duels to... Ideally, I'd go Dimitrik to Tamale, but I can't do that. So I might just do Purdue to Tamale instead. So these could potentially be my moves. Actually, I've kind of stumbled upon them now. This is probably what I would be ending up doing to get the money. So this would be give me 230k in the bank. And this would be Duffy, Hopgood, and Purdue to Starling, Arthurs, and Tamale. So getting 3 guys in who should all be making very good money. 230k in the bank should give me enough money next week. Even if Payne Haas goes up in price, I should be able to go Seyfarth to Payne Haas and then maybe Hetherington to Nicholson. And then I might just have to make one more trade to downgrade somewhere to make any money to fill the gap, which I need to go and plan through, because at the moment I actually don't love that Starling and Connor Watson on my starting hookers. I feel like that's too strong almost. I'd almost rather have Connor Watson at second row and just have Tom Starling and Sanders Smith at the moment, but this is what it is. To be honest, I think this is going to be my most likely set of trades, but you can tell how on the fence and how unsure I am, because I've been pretty busy today. I haven't had that much time to actually think fully through my trade plans, and Tom Duffy getting dropped was not on my agenda for this afternoon, but here we are. So Nick is saying Duffy, Seyfarth, and Hopgood for Tamale, Starling, and Arthurs. The only problem, the only reason I can't do that is because I don't have enough duels to swap. I don't have enough duels to swap 2 of my second rowers for 2 centers. That's the big problem. So that's my problem. That's why I had to sell Purdue to get the other cheapy center wing there. Could you not use Seyfarth instead? I mean, I could use Seyfarth. Actually, let me do that real quick. So let me, how do I do this? Get rid of you. Get rid of that. So do Seyfarth. Does it work? Yes, it does work. So, okay. So there is a situation where I can keep Hopgood for this week. And this is thank you to what's his name? Thank you to I can't find your name. Sorry. Anyway, the person who said sell Seyfarth instead of Hopgood. Yes, I can do that. I can do Duffy, Purdue, and Seyfarth to Starling, Tamale, and Jesse Arthurs. So I can get all 3 of those cheapies in. Only leaves me 8,000, but then that pretty much means that next week, Hopgood is my main downgrade option, which could be fine. I could just go Hopgood down to Matty Nicholson. That's 300k right there. And that might be enough for me to then go Kobe Hetherington to Payne Haas. And then I just need maybe one other downgrade somewhere else, which I just need to think about somewhere. Maybe it's Shibasaki down or Iongi down. I don't know. Jason is saying, Aman, didn't you always say to plan for future trades? Yes. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to do that much trade planning when I've been... I don't want to keep making excuses, but yes, I've been very busy. Is it possible for me to get Tamale, Arthurs, and Haas? Probably is possible for me to do that. So if I try a situation like that... Also, guys, please tell me if you're getting bored by this, because this is me just doing some therapy on my own team. But yeah, if I did Duffy to... Sorry, not Starling, because we're not getting him in this particular situation. I'd probably have to keep Tom Duffy in that situation. So let's say I did Hopgood to Payne Haas. I'll swap down... Let's just say I swap down Horsburgh. I get in Payne Haas. I want to get in Jesse Arthurs. So let's say I do... let's say I'll do Kobe Hetherington maybe. Actually, maybe let's do Seyfarth for the time being. To Jesse Arthurs, 115k. Then yes, I can do like a Purdue to Male. Like that is an option. So these are also 3 trades. I can do 140k in the bank. It just means I give up on Tom Starling, and it means I do keep Tom Duffy as well, which I don't love. This is why I'm thinking, like, my mentality is like, while I do love Payne Haas, I think I need to fix my biggest problems. Hopgood, yes, while he's been underperforming, he's not my biggest problem compared to maybe Tom Duffy, who's just sitting there bottom dollar. Dimitrik is a bit of an AE nightmare. I guess I don't have to deal with him straight away, but yes, he's a bit of a pain in the butt at the moment. So those are the guys ideally who I'd be trading first before I trade Hopgood and stuff like that. I mean, Duffy isn't a must sell this week, but he's a nice way to get to someone like a Tom Starling. So anyway, look, I'm just going to leave my team as it is. You can see that I'm still all over the shop. As much as I can, I will post my trade updates throughout the week once I formulate them a bit more in my head. But for now, yeah, I'm a little bit all over the shop. But you can tell who I'm trying to target. Starling, Tamale, Arthurs, Haas. And this is not even me thinking about the likes of Amazu and stuff like that as well. Someone's saying try Seyfarth, Hopgood, and Duffy for Haas, Tamale, Arthurs. The problem is that, like, I can't sell Duffy. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. If I do the duels. But the thing is, I can't really sell Duffy for any of those 3 players because I don't have the duels, I think, to do that. What did you just say? You said Hopgood. Interesting. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. Anyway, my brain is cooked. I can't do this anymore. What I'll do is I will read the chat later and figure it out later. Anyway, that's probably been a terrible portion of the podcast for those listening on audio. Do watch it on YouTube. I recommend that part. All right, guys, give me your questions for the next 5 minutes. We'll tackle them, and then I think we will leave it there for the stream. Use Seyfarth and Nafahu White to free up funds. Yeah, I mean, Nafahu White is he was actually good last week, and he's got handy duel as well, which I'm happy to keep for the time being. You can get Starling if I ditch White. Yeah, probably, but you're gonna make me get down the trade permutations. Can I do it through Metcalf duels? Probably not. Anyway, guys, look, I'll figure it out. I will most likely post a short video on Instagram or YouTube or something to go through this in a bit more detail, or I'll put it on Patreon as well. But I'll put it on Patreon for all members, not paid members, just so that people can at least get my thoughts there as well. And yeah, do follow me on Patreon where I do chuck random stuff like that up there now. All right. Hey man, would I downgrade Reece Walsh to Tino to free up cash for Duffy to Starling and Purdue to Arthurs? Oh. So this is tough because whilst I would keep Reece Walsh, I think Tino and Reece Walsh can probably score similar. Maybe Reece Walsh scores a little bit better in the next few weeks, but I think getting Duffy to Starling and Purdue to Arthurs are both upgrades. So I don't love it by selling Reece Walsh, but I think the whole set of 3 trades, you're getting in 3 better players in my opinion. So you're getting 3 good players there. So yeah, I think I'd probably do that, to be honest. And I guess you do avoid the Reece Walsh price drop. Would McLean or Saab or Luai to Munster be better this week? Not Saab. He's got a big negative break even. McLean, I probably wouldn't either. I think he's been named again. Probably Luai. Luai's got the big break even. I think Luai's the one I'd be selling. Why was Hubner dropped? He wasn't dropped. He was suspended. Suspended for 2 rounds. Who am I reserving this week? I think I'll play Sanders Smith against the Warriors. I think I'll play Metcalf. I'll probably play... I might not play Iongi instead. And I might play... I'll probably will play Toya, Metcalf, Sanders Smith, and then one of... I might play Shibasaki. If I get my trades in and if I get like a Jesse Arthurs and stuff, then I'll probably play them as well. So more likely I'll sit the likes of Iongi, Dimitri. I'm not playing. I probably won't play Kobe Hetherington. And I probably won't play Nafahu White. Just now that you've got Lindsay Collins and Spencer Leniu back in this week as well. Is Seyfarth, Hopgood and Purdue to Haas, Tamale and Arthur's good trades? Then get Tino and Munster next week. Yeah, I think like on Seyfarth very quickly as well. He's not a must sell. Like I think last week what he got is much more in line with what I expected. But if he's your best route to these guys, then yes, I think those trades are fine because that's a big upgrade. Is too many cheapies bad? It's not necessarily bad. You don't need to chase every single cheapie. But I think at this point of the season where if you can generate all of this cash, it really helps with your future team to be able to get all of these like potential guns and stuff. So I think we do seem to have a good crop of cheapies this season. So I think take the opportunities while you can to make that cash because the thing is, later on the season, you never know if you're going to get the opportunities to generate more cash. At that point, you can decide to not pick cheapies. At the start of the year, though, when you really do want to build a bank, I think I'd be trying to prioritize the cheapies as much as I can. Ideally, cheapies who can also score you good points as well. Would I pick Hines over Payne Haas? Probably not, to be honest. Like, I know Hines is kicking. I know there's some chat that maybe he's not kicking today in training. But my philosophy is the guys who scare me. At the moment, Payne Haas is scaring me more than Nico Hines. So I think on that basis, I'd pick Payne Haas over Nico Hines. Sorry, joined late. What trades did you make this week? Dore Max, I've made no trades. And as people in the chat can probably tell you, I was all over the shop in terms of what trades I'm doing. So yeah, I'll post something else later on to give you guys a bit more insight once I've had a bit of time to like properly sit down and think about it a bit more. Would I trade Cobbo to Arthurs so I can get Tamale and Haas? Yes, I think I'd do that. I mean, I'm a bit biased with Selwyn Cobbo because he burnt me a few seasons ago and therefore I've never decided to go back to him. I mean, Cobbo's been good, like 85, 57, but I mean, he scored 4 tries in that period of time as well. I think the fact that you can get similar output from Arthurs who's 200k cheaper and you get those upgrades, yes, I would probably make that particular move. Hope the personal life shenanigans has gone well and good to have you back. Yep, thank you. It is good to be back. A few pods or super pods, more of a head-to-head plan. Trying to think of risky plays in the coming weeks. A few pod plays. I mean, okay, I'll give you a good pod play that I'm a fan of. If you can get someone like a Dane Laurie for the next 2 to 4, because Dylan Edwards is out for the next 2 to 4 rounds. Dane Laurie was awesome last year whenever Dylan Edwards wasn't in the squad. So I like Dane Laurie as a bit of a pod. Maybe also for draft if you're thinking about that as well. He's the first one I can think of. Sorry, if I think of any more, I'll let you know. How are we going for time? We'll take a couple more questions and I think we'll wrap it up there. Let's see. We're looking at keep Duffy till next week, Amar, and swap Watson to 2RF to get in Starling. Yeah, that might be the way I do go. Because yeah, I don't have to necessarily drop. Like Tom Duffy's not going to change in price this week. He's not going to hurt me in terms of losing cash. So yes, I could just keep him this week and deal with him next week potentially. Yeah, that is also an option. All right, let's take one more question. Would I trade Carrigan to Haas? Oh. Probably not, because I mean Carrigan himself scored 93 points in round 1. He scored 53 round 2. I don't think I'd do Carrigan to Payne Haas. It's an upgrade, but I think it's not enough of an upgrade that it's worth the trade. Sorry. Gutho next week for sure. Yeah, Gutho could be on the agenda for next week as well. Yeah, like next week, the thing is, I'm not going to downgrade Turbo next week when he plays Parramatta, so yeah, I don't know. Thoughts on Sua Wong, thinking of trading him from Hosking. I think my concern with Wong is that you've got Radley back as well this week. So I'm still a little bit uncertain on how many minutes he will play. He's played 68 and 80 minutes in the opening 2 rounds, which is good. He was very good base stats last week as well. Yeah, he could be a potential... Like, he's got a -1 break even, so he'll make a bit of money. I think he's fine, but not my favourite. I probably would prefer Nicholson, I think, for 20k more. Cotter to Nicholson, allowing me to go Arthurs and Starling. Yeah, I think it's good. I think you can easily move off Ruben Cotter. All right, guys, I think I'm going to wrap up the stream there. We've been going on for a while. It's been awesome to be back. Thank you all so much for tuning in. As I said, we'll post a bit more on my trade plans later in the week once I've thought about them a little bit more. But I appreciate the love that you all have shown this stream as well, and that you're all happy that I'm back. It's good to hear. I would have been a bit sad if I came back and people said, "Nah, are you not interested?" Blah blah blah. So your response has been very good, and I massively appreciate that. But thank you everyone for tuning in. I'll see you all hopefully on Sunday for a wrap-up stream, and we'll be back again next week to preview round 4. Till then, take it easy and catch you all in the next one. Cheers.